All right, and we're pleased to welcome at this point Nada Al Hassan of UNESCO's World Heritage Center. Thank you for joining us here on France 24. Is that what it amounts to? Tearing a page out of the world, out of history books?
Well, it's more than this, because this site is a site that UNESCO considers of universal value. It belongs to the whole of humanity, and it has values that are important for all of us. It's not only a mere cultural site in Syria.
That's right. It dates back, what, to before the Romans, in fact.
Yes, it has traces since the Paleolithic, but its main evolution was during the Roman era, between the 2nd century BC and the 3rd century after Jesus Christ.
All right, so we see what's happened in Mosul with the destruction of artifacts, but is the destruction a little bit of a PR stunt? It's also the looting. That's the big concern.
That's true, and this site was subject to illegal excavations and looting in the past 2 years, and some of the famous Palmyrian sculptures that were on the sarcophagus of the tombs of Palmyra, the most famous sculptures of Palmyra, were taken away savagely from the site, and they are on the international illicit market. There is.
Have you caught traces of them? Have some of those pieces popped up on?
Some of those pieces popped up on the Syrian-Lebanese border and were caught by the Syrian border police, customs police. Some of them are out there on the market. The illicit trafficking is an organized crime, international organized crime that has its networks all over the world, unfortunately.
Who are the buyers?
Well, this is the thing. The buyers can be any person who has money and who thinks it's chic to have a Palmyrian bust in their living rooms. But what they should know is that, according to international law, this is a crime. And possessing artifacts that were illegally excavated and looted is a crime. And the UN considers that any object from Syria or Iraq that is bought today and that was circulated after the crisis is illegal.
We saw with Mosul that some of the pieces had already been taken out for safekeeping, and that a lot of what they destroyed were replicas.
Yes.
With Palmyra, what's the situation?
Well, the Museum of Palmyra had its main objects were put in a safe place in the city. But with the escalation of the combats in the past days, the Directorate of Antiquities of the Syrian government moved those objects that were already packed out of Palmyra. And we know that most of the movable objects were taken out to a safe place. But what remains are the voluminous objects that cannot be moved, like big sarcophaguses or sculptures, and the site itself. You cannot remove a Roman site of a city of this importance, a crossroad of civilizations, a city of the Silk Road, and the fear is now for any combats that might take place within the World Heritage Site itself.
Now, Nada, we had on our set when the fall of Mosul happened, Syrians and Iraqis who were a little upset. They said to us, listen, we've been dying for 4 years, and it's only because there are museum treasures that that there's a lot of attention being given. What do you answer when people ask you that?
Well, I very much understand what they say. I come from this region, and I've been through wars, and I know, like everyone else, the value of a human being is much more important than the value of any material thing that exists on this earth. But the thing is that when you deplete people from their heritage, from their history, from their identity, especially when you do it intentionally, you destroy their humanity. You destroy also what they are. And this is why you, me, and anybody else watching the news is so much affected by the destruction of heritage. We ourselves wonder, how come I am as affected by this as when I see, the killing of a human being? Well, this is because heritage calls on very intimate things in us and very old things in us. It's our roots. And this is where they hit hard. This is where it's a PR campaign. It's a media war. It's a war, a psychological war. They know it affects us, so they think that this is also a way of winning the psychological war. And we shouldn't fall into this. We should all unite to protect heritage.
Nada Al Hassan, it's a tricky one because on the one hand, there's the PR stunt of destroying it. On the other hand, the authorities in Damascus, who have welcomed the world media today to be able to advertise all of this, it sheds them in a good light. And you're with an international body which is obviously in the middle of all this.
Yes, this is true. And this is a question we ask ourselves every day. How do you communicate on this destruction without, playing the game that you are cornered to play by those extremist groups. And in fact, it's very singular in this conflict, the fact that cultural heritage has taken a central place, a central role in the conflict. In other conflicts, we've seen destruction of cultural heritage, like the Buddhas of Bamyan, but it wasn't as central in terms of humanitarian and security issues. And this is why, when you are in the middle of this PR war, you call on the highest instances in the world, like the UN Security Council and the International Criminal Court, where you say you also have to take stock of this, take stock of the centrality of cultural heritage in this conflict, and take actions and decisions that consider culture as part of this conflict as much as any other element that you are considering. So you step up, the attention of the international community and the actions of the international community.